Right, good afternoon again. Welcome back to the 4 o'clock Monday afternoon slot. And very exciting today to welcome all the way from South Africa. I mean, Zuko is international, I tell you. And there was I thinking I'd start some kind of niche global networking, but no, it's a global networking empire. And all the way from Durban, I believe, in South Africa, we have Alison Coates today. Good afternoon, Alison. How are you today?
Hello, Nick. It's so lovely to be with you this afternoon. I always enjoy the Zuko sessions
Bless you.
and the energy that you bring.
You're a superstar. And I've looked at my calendar and it's ridiculously hot and warm and sunny in Durban right now. So we'll move on from that. Okay. So obviously we've never met in real life, but we discovered that we could have passed each other on the street when I worked in Earlsfield all my life and you lived in Southfield for a long time. So tell me, how long have you been in? Well, how long have you been in South Africa? How long have you been in England? All the way around, yeah.
So I am South African born. So I was born in South Africa. And when I finished my studies and I finished my qualifications, I decided that I needed to take a break. I studied as a psychologist. So it was 7 years by the time I finished my studies and my internship. And I went overseas to the UK for 1 year and I landed up staying for 16. So wow. It was not really planned in that way. One thing led to another and I ended up having really great job opportunities and I couldn't turn them down. And I had a great network of friends and colleagues and incredible experiences, work experiences, working in the city.
Yeah, and you ended up, as all South Africans seem to do, in Southfields.
Yes, Southwest London.
Of course.
South Africa on Thames.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's still quite raw to me. Obviously, you know, the whole Rugby World Cup semi-final 2 years. It's the pain is still there. I'm wearing my shirt and I realise that. So right, well, I will. I know it was a painful day. Let's just move on. I will pin you and we'll start asking the questions. Okay, that's wonderful. Pin me. So that's great. So, Alison, it's a delight, really pleasure to talk to you today, as I said, and it's very exciting the fact that you are from South Africa. So, it says here, emotional intelligence. It is a big word, Alison. Tell us what does emotional intelligence mean?
So, you know, the emotional intelligence, the theories around emotional intelligence have been around since the 90s. Most people will know emotional intelligence, you know, often gets compared to your normal just intelligence in itself, but they're quite different. So your IQ versus your EQ is often a conversation that you hear people having. And emotional intelligence really is your own understanding of your emotions, as well as other people's emotional states in the moment, and your ability to use that information to help you to make appropriate decisions and to respond appropriately in the moment. So it really is, it draws on your own awareness of your own emotional state, but also of all of the emotions in the room or in the experience that you're in, so that you can make that intelligent decision about your next move or your next response.
Interesting. And how did you come to work in the emotional intelligence space?
So like I said in the beginning, I trained as a psychologist. I trained in South Africa. We call it industrial psychology. Overseas, it's often referred to as occupational psychology. So I did a Bachelor of Commerce, and so I was always interested in people, but people in the workspace. And after many years of working as a management consultant in business change, when I came back to South Africa, I found that the opportunities, the kind of job opportunities that I had in London they didn't come by as often in Durban. Durban's quite a small town. And I really missed my connection with people. I got to work with people a lot when I was in the business change space. So after a few years of working back here in South Africa, I decided to retrain, first of all, as a life coach, because I thought that it would be a good method or a good modality to add on to the psychology background that I already had. It had been a very long time since I'd actually practiced as a psychologist. So I felt like I needed a refresher of sorts. And life coaching appealed to me because it's very much a forward-looking modality. And shortly after qualifying, doing my life coaching qualification, it was much like one of these conversations. I was having a wonderful conversation with somebody about emotional intelligence, and I just got curious about it. And then before I knew it, just coincidentally, there was somebody in my area who a few weeks later was going to be doing a training course to certify people in emotional intelligence using the Genos International model and method. And, you know, sometimes you've just got to listen to the signs that the universe sends you. And that was how come I got to retrain as an emotional intelligence practitioner. And I think it's coming up for 3 years now. So I've really allows me to use all of my past experience, but I've now got this huge bank of new knowledge and new skills that I can add to the experience that I had working as a management consultant in business change and my original training as a psychologist.
It's interesting. So, okay. These are your questions, and they're great questions. But what does an emotional intelligence coach actually do?
So normally what happens is I get a phone call from an HR department, generally when they need me to step in and help with somebody who has been struggling in their role or is a new leader and needs some guidance around how to engage and inspire their team. So it generally comes at the end of the process that somebody would give me a call and say, we'd love for you to put one of our employees through an EI assessment just to establish where their strengths are. And then I go into a one-on-one coaching relationship with that employee around how we can leverage those strengths that they already have and what we can do to minimize or sometimes even eliminate some of the blind spots that they have. And if you remember that emotional intelligence is all about how we relate to and engage and interact with other people, you can imagine that it's really important, especially in leadership positions.
Of course, I mean,
what I would really love to do is that I get invited at the beginning of the process, in the recruitment process, at the strategy stage of setting up an organization or setting up processes, and really inform how they set up their departments, how they set up their processes, so that we're working with people right from the start, rather than trying to work with them at the end of a process and almost having it come across as there's something wrong and they need to be fixed, because it's very definitely not about anybody needing to be fixed at all. It's just about a different set of skills that nobody's probably shared with them before. So it's new knowledge, new information.
I'm a great people watcher. I love watching people. I mean, I'm sitting in a cafe for several hours with a coffee, watching the world go by, and it sounds like you're the same. You observe people, you watch people, you study people. I mean, body language. You know, the language we use, the body language we have. It's all fascinating, isn't it? So it seems like an extension on that in some ways. You say here, so what basic skills do you need to be able to learn emotional intelligence?
What did I need to learn, or what does another person need to learn?
Either.
Okay, so for myself, I went on the Genos International certification course, and it was a really intense course where we got taken through how the theory behind the model, the theory behind emotional intelligence, which is all around understanding the neuroscience behind how we respond or react to different stimuli. And this is very important. When I work with my clients, I say to them, if your car was broken down, you'd go to a mechanic and understand what it was that was broken or what it was about your car that needed to be tinkered with in order to get it, operating and driving more efficiently, effectively. So I don't feel like I can work with my client and help them to understand how to leverage a strength or minimize a blind spot if I don't also give them the understanding a little bit around the neuroscience behind how we are either primed into that flight and fight response or rest and digest, which is a far more rewarding, productive way of thinking and being. So I do work quite a practical manner to help my clients understand a little bit behind the science of what it is that they are learning whilst they are in a coaching relationship with me. And the skills that they learn are everyday skills, Nick. They're things that sometimes we probably do, but we're just not aware that we really are doing them on an everyday basis. And then there are things that we might not be doing that if we just added one or two of these things, like having a journaling practice, having a reflective practice. A lot of times I work with my leaders and they're so good with thinking at the end of a quarter, at the end of a year, how well did our year go? What did we do well from a financial perspective? We should be doing the same for ourselves. So how well did my last quarter go? How well did I do compared to what I thought that I might do? But not from a cognitive perspective, not from a what did I deliver perspective, from an emotional perspective. How did I feel over the last 3 to 6 months? And what difference would it make if I had different experiences from an emotional perspective? So we always start with that beautiful awareness that comes from bringing awareness of our emotions into the conversation.
And you mentioned working in with HR departments. How was the last 15 months? How has the last 15 months affected people and your business?
Oh, so the last 15 months for me, obviously, when we went in South Africa, we went into lockdown. I think it was on the 27th of March, 2020. We went into hard lockdown. You weren't allowed to leave our homes. Not many people were allowed to work. So for somebody who delivers in-person training, in-person coaching, and facilitation of sessions, I would do massive, big, brown paper exercises with people sat around boardroom tables. Overnight, literally all of my work had to stop because I couldn't go in person. But you kind of have to, one of the things we learn, one of the competencies of the EI model is all around resilience. And resilience is just about making a start, trying something new, being happy to not always feel like you've got to get it right. So I started running Zoom sessions, complimentary Zoom sessions for anybody who wanted to listen to me talk about resilience, stress management, how are you feeling? And from there, it just really blossomed into referrals for people asking me to deliver training on engaging leaders, on resilience, on motivation and inspiration. So I've delivered quite a few over the last 12 months, training sessions for big corporates here in South Africa. And all of my coaching has now moved online. So my assessment is an online tool, not my assessment, the Genos assessment is an online tool. And I do all of my coaching through Zoom or MS Teams, whatever my client uses. And actually it's working out really well because between the two of us, between the client and myself, there's not a lot of travel that's now needed. I'm not taking up any extra time in their day to come and do coaching. There's no concern about colleagues seeing them going to go and have a meeting with the coach because it's completely confidential now. And so, and if I'm in a coaching conversation with somebody, I'm not worried about other people knocking on the door to interrupt us. So it's actually working out really well that coaching now is also being done online. So in the beginning, I had a minor panic attack about the fact that I couldn't do my work in person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually worked out to be a blessing in disguise. And look, I'm networking internationally now. So it's just shown me that I don't only see clients in South Africa, I can now see clients anywhere in the world because it's online.
Mm-hmm. And how is it? I mean, you mentioned working with HR departments, and I said I was more. I mean, I mean, is there an avalanche of companies with emotional intelligence problems?
I think you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So I would always advocate for some sort of EI work in corporates, no matter how big they are, in a company, a small business or a large corporate, because what you learn are really good daily habits that help you to navigate uncertainty and navigate difficulties. And if anything has come out of 2020, we are learning that uncertainty is the way of the future. So these are really great skills that you can apply not only in your personal life, but also in your professional life. So for me, it's not really about saying that there are EI problems. It's more about saying, let's give everybody the best opportunity so that they can learn to navigate challenge, stress, adversity, hardship, change with a lot more ease and a lot more confidence. Let's give the people that work with us the best opportunity to be able to have success with their relationships in the working space, but also a successful outcome in terms of their outputs and their results.
And when it comes to working with people and referrals and stuff, is there any particular type of industry or anyone you like, you specifically would like to talk to help your business?
I'm so passionate about the management consulting, project management, delivery space because I had such a wonderful career working as a management consultant myself. So my dream client, my real dream client would be to work in, with people who are in one of those types of roles: project management, program management, management consulting, professional services, really. My client base at the moment is, some of them are in that space. I've been working with I have some banking clients and I have some retail clients here in South Africa. I also have private one-on-one clients. And I have a couple of proposals out at the moment for some clients in the IT space. So it is in that space, but I would, when you look at what your vision is for yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, I would love to be working with some of the top tier consulting or project management firms.
Excellent. And you're joining us for our main meeting tomorrow, I believe, aren't you? Yeah, you're coming along to the main meeting tomorrow.
I'm joining Zuko tomorrow.
Good. Okay, well, let me throw the floor open. I had a phone call in the middle of that. I don't know what happened to your screen, so please forgive me. I had a phone call that messed up my screen, but I got you back eventually. Do you have any questions from the assembled gather? Alex, I think you had a question, didn't you?
I always have questions.
Of course you
do.
I
thought it was really interesting, actually, Alison. Thank you for that. I just sort of made some observations, and I'm curious to know whether you feel that people need more emotional intelligence support with the stress of the digital age, and the fact that I think people start on a journey now, and years ago you'd stay in the same role for a much longer time, and now youngsters are moving and growing and being promoted very, very quickly, and it seems to be an accepted way. And I'm just wondering whether this is perhaps causing some of their perhaps slightly immature and less experienced emotional intelligence to come to the fore earlier than maybe it would have done.
Good question.
Very good question. And I would question whether or not people are being promoted for their technical abilities because they're really good at the technical side of their role and not given the level of support that they need, that every time they take that step change in their career, that they're given the type of support and the type of learning that will help them to inspire, motivate, and engage and build rapport. And I can say that because that was my experience. So I was a really good project manager and program manager. And I can say that because I had really great feedback in all of my performance reviews and from my client. But if I knew then the things that I know now about people skills and how to engage in such a way that it's a rewarding experience, not only for me, but also for the other person, I can tell you, Alex, my career would have been so much more enjoyable for everybody, including myself. So I can't overemphasize enough that as much as the technical skills are really important, we've got to start paying attention to the people skills, especially those that are going to support our teams, our employees, and individuals in managing difficulties and challenging times.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, listen, the whole subject of emotional intelligence is fascinating. You talk to people, presumably they veer into more personal issues. They presume that you investigate the whole of their issues, every emotional aspect going on in their life. I mean, it must be quite tricky sometimes, surely, listening to people.
It is, Nick, and I think what you've got to understand and realize, and again, I'm comfortable in a coaching and one-on-one coaching. Obviously, all of my coaching conversations are confidential. The relationship exists between myself and the person that I'm coaching. The financial relationship exists with myself and the company, but the coaching relationship is between myself and the person I'm coaching. And I really believe that when we can allow people to learn new things, new skills, new competencies, new ways of being in a space that's comfortable for them, then they feel more confident to try it out in more difficult situations. So if my client is presenting an issue to me that is more about their personal life than their professional life, it's going to show up in their professional life in some way or form. So I'm comfortable to talk about it, to work on it, and to relate it to how that might be showing up in their professional life. But let's give them the confidence first in a safe environment and allow them to build that confidence there, and then take it into an environment where they're a little bit more worried about their reputation or their career or their next move. So yes, it does come in, and I guess it's just you have to learn how to work with that, but always relate it back to the corporate scenario where you can.
What about the top-down approach then? Because you're talking about people coming to you in that situation, but surely the management need to be able to pull these people and support these people in the same vein.
Yes, so for me, it is pretty. If I go in to a client site, like now, I've got quite a nice piece of work that I've got a proposal out on, and they're wanting to train a huge portion of their staff with the various different skills and tools and competencies that are in the model. And for me, it's almost a non-negotiable that we do it top down. So these are not things that's why I said right at the beginning, I would far rather work with clients at the beginning of the process and not have HR call me because they've just done a round of performance reviews and there's a number of people who've now got things that they need fixing, because we do ourselves a disservice, really, and you do your organization a disservice. But for me, it really is. It's ideal. I know it can't always happen that way because senior managers and C-suite are often really, really busy keeping the organization steering in the right direction. But it needs to be a top-down approach, because we need to lead from the front and take everyone in our teams on the journey with us.
Well, I certainly led my company. I led my employers. I tell you, I was a model MD. I tell you. Tell us something, Alice, before I wrap up. Tell us something about you that we might not know or might surprise us.
Oh.
You know what's coming,
What can I tell you that you might not know? Yeah. Well, I don't know how many people know when I lived in the UK, I got into, and it's one thing that I really miss about living in the UK when I lived in London, is I got into cold water swimming.
Oh, wow.
So my very favorite place to visit was the Tooting Lido, and I would swim at the Lido all year round. And now that I'm here in South Africa, where we've got beautiful, warm Durban ocean that I can swim in whenever I like, my swimming pool also is pretty warm most of the year round. My friends think I'm completely off my rocker, but if we go into the mountains, even in the middle of winter, I will find a river, a dam, a swimming pool, a body of water somewhere where I can immerse myself in that wonderful experience of cold water swimming. It's still one of my favorite things to do.
Well, I have swum in the Serpentine twice in the winter.
Yes, well, I've swum there as well.
Absolutely freezing, I tell you. Okay, well, all right, well, I'm going to. It's been an absolute pleasure, Alison. And I have, I mean, again, for me, you know, I'm a simple man, but things like emotional intelligence, I'm learning all the time. I was an old-fashioned employer. I mean, I was kind to my staff. I was kind to them, and I listened to them. And I was very much of that generation. So I did what I felt at the time was natural, but I treated all my employees as equals. I treated them as adults. Okay, I listened to them, and I was there for them when they needed to. I never ever wielded a big stick. And quite often, I mean, I often had clashes with my dad because he was old school in some ways. And if an employee makes a mistake, it's their mistake rather than actually it might be the fact that we didn't tell them or train them to do something properly. Okay. So they said no. So I have learned about it, and it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And as I said, but Zuko is international, and Alison, hopefully we'll be opening the Durban Zuko branch, and I will definitely fly out.
That would be amazing.
I will fly out there for the opening. Absolutely. Okay. Well, so thank you very much, Alison. Okay.